Welcome to PVT Express News. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any new videos. And now, here's today's content. On May 22, 2026, a video quietly appeared online. No dramatic confession. No slow-motion kiss. No rain scene. No orchestral soundtrack swelling in the background. Just a man in an apron cutting vegetables in a cramped kitchen. A woman sitting beside him with her hair casually tied up, tasting the food before muttering, "The braised pork is too salty." That's it. Less than 2 minutes long. And somehow, within 48 hours, that tiny scene shook the entire Chinese idol drama industry harder than most blockbuster romance dramas had all year. Because people couldn't stop watching it. Not once. Not twice. Dozens of times. Today, we're not just talking about the chemistry between Songyun and Songyun. We're talking about something much bigger. Why did two people standing in front of a pot feel more romantic than every carefully choreographed kissing scene audiences had seen in 2026? And more importantly, was it real? Or was it the smartest piece of emotional marketing the industry has ever created? To answer that, we need to go back 2 years earlier. Back to 2024. A drama called More Beautiful Than Starlight quietly premiered with almost no expectations attached to it. At the time, most viewers dismissed it immediately. Another CEO romance. Another career woman. Another polished urban love story that would probably disappear after a few weeks. The market was already flooded with dramas exactly like it. But then something strange happened. People started watching. And suddenly, viewers realized this drama felt different. Sukai's character, Han Ting, wasn't the usual cold billionaire stereotype who walked into scenes acting like the world belonged to him. He didn't dominate conversations with flashy declarations or exaggerated possessiveness. Instead, he held everything back. His emotions stayed restrained, controlled, almost painfully quiet. But his eyes betrayed him every single time. And Songyun's Ji Xing wasn't written like the typical naive female lead waiting to be rescued. She was sharp, proud, emotionally stubborn. She pushed back against pressure instead of surrendering to it. Yet in her quieter moments, when nobody else was looking, you could feel how exhausted she really was. Together, they created something rare in idol dramas. They felt like real people. Not fantasy projections. Not perfectly sculpted romantic ideals. Just two adults carrying invisible emotional weight. And when Han Ting said the line, "I've been waiting for you for 10 years," people lost it. Not because the dialogue itself was extraordinary, but because audiences believed him. That's the difference. Anyone can deliver a romantic line. Very few actors can make people emotionally accept it as truth. After filming ended, the director said something that later spread everywhere online. When the two of them sat together, it genuinely felt like they had known each other for 10 years. At the time, that quote sounded like ordinary promotional praise. Now it feels almost prophetic. Because even back then, viewers sensed something unusual between them. Still, More Beautiful Than Starlight had one important safety net. It was still a drama. There were scripted misunderstandings. Emotional climaxes. Reconciliations carefully designed by writers. No matter how convincing the chemistry became, audiences still had one invisible layer protecting them from fully falling in. This is acting. But then came Neon Things. And suddenly that invisible barrier disappeared. Let's talk about the kitchen scene everyone is obsessing over. Soo-kai stands in front of the stove wearing wrinkled loungewear and a slightly ridiculous reporter-style apron. No luxury suit. No perfect hairstyle. No cinematic lighting. He's just cutting meat. Not posing for the camera. Not trying to look handsome. Just cutting meat. Beside him, Songyun sits on a tiny stool holding chopsticks while stirring the pot. Then she casually says, "It's too salty." Soo-kai doesn't immediately respond. And this is the important part. He pauses. Not actor pause. Not dramatic pause. A real pause. The kind people make when they're genuinely processing what someone just said in the kitchen. He cuts the meat 2 more times before finally turning toward her and asking, "How many spoonfuls of soy sauce did you add?" Songyun thinks about it seriously. 2.5. Another pause. Then Soo-kai quietly says, "That's your problem." That's the entire scene. Nothing happens. And somehow, everything happens. I've watched that clip more than 10 times. Maybe you have too. Because those few seconds contain something modern idol dramas have slowly lost. Uncontrolled reality. If you've watched enough romance dramas in recent years, you already know the formula. Slow motion eye contact. Warm filters. Background music arriving exactly on cue. Perfect camera angles. Emotion manufactured with surgical precision. And honestly, that formula works. The industry wouldn't keep using it if it didn't. But there's a difference between something effective and something alive. Audiences in 2026 have become incredibly sensitive to emotional manipulation. People can feel the invisible glass separating themselves from the actors on screen. The actors are beautiful. The scenes are polished. The emotions are technically correct. But viewers feel like they're watching romance through a showroom window. Pretty. Untouchable. Forgettable. You finish 3 episodes before bed, then wake up the next morning barely remembering a single line. But the kitchen scene in Neon Things doesn't feel separated from the audience. There's no glass. No polished fantasy. You can practically smell the steam coming from the pot. You can feel the warmth of the kitchen. And most importantly, you recognize that atmosphere immediately. Because everyone has lived moments like that before. Tiny arguments. Small complaints. Comfortable silence. That strange intimacy that only exists between people who have spent enough time together to stop performing for each other. And that's why the scene hit people so hard. Not because it was romantic in the traditional sense, but because it felt familiar. Now here's the uncomfortable question. Was any of this actually accidental? Or was it carefully designed to look accidental? Let's be honest. Soo-kai is not naive. He has spent years in the industry. He has experienced explosive popularity, public scrutiny, and the exhausting media storms that come with celebrity culture. He knows exactly where cameras are. He knows what kind of footage spreads online. And he absolutely understands how powerful natural chemistry has become in today's entertainment market. Songyun is the same way. She once said in an interview, "I don't like performing just for the sake of performing. I prefer finding the real reason a character exists." That sentence suddenly explains everything. Because what makes this kitchen scene so dangerous to the industry is not that it feels real. It's that they know how to create space for reality to happen naturally. And that requires an entirely different level of skill. Most actors rely on technique for safety. Memorized emotional beats. Perfect camera awareness. Controlled reactions. But Sukai and Songyun seem willing to let go of some of that control. And that's terrifyingly effective. Because when Sukai stood there in that apron, there was nowhere to hide behind the character Han Ting anymore. For a few seconds, audiences weren't watching a fictional CEO. They were watching Sukai himself. A real man standing in a kitchen arguing about soy sauce. And surprisingly, very few actors are brave enough to allow that level of exposure. Which brings us to the biggest question of all. What does this mean for the future of idol dramas? Online discussions exploded almost immediately. Some people called Neon Things a complete redefinition of romance dramas. Others dismissed it as sophisticated marketing disguised as authenticity. Some viewers became obsessed with the pairing. Others rejected the realism entirely. But one thing almost everyone agreed on was this. That kitchen scene reminded them why they fell in love with dramas in the first place. Not because dramas show perfect people, but because occasionally they show us ourselves. Please join the discussion. Feel free to leave comments. Welcome to my channel. Thank you all.